Hey, What the Suck family. As you may have noticed, we recently switched to Anchor for our podcast hosting needs.
That's right, we were using another site that had us paying $20 a month for services such as unlimited uploading, unlimited hosting, and distribution. Anchor will distribute your podcast to Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify, and many more, and they do it all for free.
They make it super easy to create and start your podcast directly from their site. You can record and edit directly on the Anchor website or app directly from your phone.
It's your one-stop shop for everything you need to create your own show. They will even help you find sponsors to fund your project.
Just go to anchor.fm and get started today. There really is no easier way to do it.
Hello, shoppers, and welcome back to What the Suck. My name is...
That's staying in. All right, hold on.
What? No! You suck! Oh my God!
Hey, welcome back to What the Suck podcast. This is James.
I'm Chris.
And today we have episode 15.
Big 1-5. It's our
quinceañera.
quinceañera. Ay, 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 ay. Yes, I am Hispanic, so I can make that sound.
That is correct.
Yes.
Yes, we are a multinational show.
That's right, and we are actually old enough now to drive, so congratulations.
Hey, that's it. I'm
That's awesome.
multilingual anyway, man. I speak English, I speak British, I speak Scottish,
I speak jive.
Ireland, Australian,
Jive.
Canadian.
Yeah, I speak jive. Jive turkey. Okay, so 15.
Okay. So episode 15, today we are going to be reviewing the movie Freakshow. It is a modern retelling of Todd Browning's Freaks of 1932. It tells the story of a group of criminals who choose to hide out by working as security at a traveling circus. When they decide to steal from the wealthy owner, there are horrific consequences.
Oh, no.
There's much less to worry about.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Movie stars Christopher Adamson, Rebecca Cochin, Dane Rosselli, Mighty Mike Murga, Jeffrey Allen, Diego Barquinero,
Bacanero.
Jimmy Goldman, and Sharon Idri. The film has a budget of an estimated $1 million. They spent $1 million on this thing.
I don't know where they did it.
Jesus.
But yeah, somehow they spent $1 million on this piece of shit.
Yipe. Directed by Drew Bell, written by Keith Leopard, distributed by The Asylum.
Yeah, The Asylum.
Release date of January 30th, 2007, with a running time of 90 very painful minutes.
Oh, yeah. So, all right. So with that out of the way, I guess we can go ahead and discuss what the show is all about and what our rating system is. If you want to take that away, James.
Yes. What is our show about, Chris?
It's about an hour too fucking long each episode is what it is.
Anyway, folks, we review shitty horror movies, as many of you who have been listening already know, and our rating system is based on turd emojis, ranking from 1 to 5 turds, but we are flipped, so the more turds, the worse it is. You know, hence more shit, more stank.
Yep.
We'll go through the scale real quick. We got 1 out of 5. If we give you a 1 out of 5 score, you're going to keep it in your queue, share it with your friends frequently, and it's so bad it's good. It's one of those ones that's just great.
Yeah.
Jack
it's
Frost.
the cream of the crop. Yes, it's your new cult favorite.
That's right. 2 out of 5 turds. Watch it with friends. We play a drinking game, much like we did with the episode Chopping Mall,
yeah.
which was a blast.
Yeah.
3 out of 5 turds. Share it with friends and drink heavily. Serious, heavy drinking.
Yeah, you're going to need a lot of alcohol to actually get through it, for sure.
Yeah. 4 out of 5 turds. You're going to bring it out on special occasions. Share it with friends you don't like, ex-wives, people you want to run off, whatever.
Yeah, in-laws.
Yeah.
Yeah. That guy at work keeps stealing your fucking yogurt out of the fridge.
Yeah, bastard.
Fucking asshole.
All right. 5 out of 5. The creme de la creme.
The shit, the fecal de la matter.
That's right. Watch it once with friends. So bad it's horrible. Smoke it out of your memory. Bail off a balcony head first. Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes to jog that shit out of your
Get it
memory.
out of your memory.
Cause yourself severe head trauma.
That's it.
Have you ever seen the original 1932 Freaks, James?
No, I have not. I did not catch it.
So I have not seen all of it, but I have seen the most famous part of the movie. So the movie is infamous for the fact that the director, Todd Browning, hired actual circus performers to play in the movie. So all these people have actual deformities and were actually in a sideshow.
That is correct. And they did repeat that in this movie as
Right.
well. I was going to allude to that, but since
Yeah.
we're talking about it now, yes, they actually did use people with deformities and other handicaps and stuff, but some of them are pretty impressive. I hate, and they can do
Yeah.
some pretty crazy shit.
Yeah. And so in 32, it was a huge controversy because of the fact that it did hire actual performers and was a movie that encouraged the carnival lifestyle, the carny lifestyle. The big scene in the movie was at the end of the original, which I've seen the ending. It's pretty creepy because it's in black and white, and they're going after the guy who's the villain or whatever, but it's all done during a rainstorm, and so you get like scenes of the guy running through the circus and these people coming after him. And there's one particular scene of the person who has no arms and legs. I forget what they call him, what his sideshow name is, but he's basically wobbling around underneath a wagon with a knife in his mouth, coming towards a guy.
Holy
so
shit.
yeah, so it was very controversial at the time. It's very dark. It's again, it's mostly known for that ending scene, that whole ending scene where they're chasing after the guy during the rainstorm in the circus, and all the freaks are using what they have to their advantage. This one, I guess, kind of does the same thing, but like I don't feel like it quite succeeds as much. But we'll get into that with the review. So I guess with that, we can go ahead and start the review. Man, you do not look happy. You did not look happy at all.
One time was bad enough to, listen, it's going to roll. I think by our my demeanor at the moment, people are knowing where this one's going.
Yeah, I think so. So
hey, it was my pick, so I've got to suffer the consequences.
Yes, you do, good sir.
Roll with it, brother.
Let's do it.
That had two little calves one day. When the time came round for the dairy show, Giles was busy and he could not go, so he sent his daughter Mary with the calves to win a prize. And she shyly led them through the little village to the yokel's great surprise. And Mary took the calves to the dairy show, to the dairy show. And Farmer Green said he'd never seen such beautiful calves as Mary's.
All right, so we've had our share of some pretty crazy shit in this show, but and we've had our share of boring movies, but I don't think we've had quite such a useless movie.
This indeed has been so far. It's a crushing disappointment because the cover art and stuff looks pretty nice, and when the movie did start, the effects were actually pretty good. It has a very old school feel. Obviously, it's set back in the older days because of the soundtrack, and
Right?
stuff
Yeah,
like that. But it has the old school kind of almost like Texas Chainsaw era kind of feel to it. The cinematography and stuff. I mean,
Right,
although I know it's a
right.
2007 movie, it has that much older look to it, and I guess they age it because of the fact the time period basically lends to the 30s, I believe.
Yeah, they're
Late
using,
30s, 40s,
Right.
Paying homage to the original Freaks, basically.
Exactly. Yeah,
And unfortunately, like I said, the effects were good. Obviously, I think, as you alluded to earlier, they've actually employed actual possible circus performers, actual people with disabilities, people with no arms, no legs, but they were all doing quite impressive stuff in the opening scenes. It was
so
pretty neat.
I think actually nowadays I believe sideshows are outlawed, so they didn't hire circus performers. They just hired people with particular disabilities.
That's true.
Or people who just Because, like, I mean, there's the person who's a half man, half woman, but I mean, that could just be done with prosthetics and makeup. I like the boss's quote unquote wife is supposed to be like the seal woman because she has like flipper hands, but that's obviously a prosthetic piece.
Yep.
I mean, the other people like the guy without the legs. That's just disability. That's the midget. He's just a midget. You've got the wolf boy who probably does have that real condition. I forget what it's called, like lycanthropy, I think, or something.
But
like
I've
that.
actually seen folks like that.
Yeah.
I saw a picture of him. Might be him. You know, we just don't know.
Yeah,
We'd
there are
have to
people who
look
actually
it up.
suffer from that condition, so it could just have that. So I mean, I don't think they actually employ. Like I said, that I believe that circus performing sideshows are illegal now, so they just hire people with certain.
Probably so, because society's new, the way they want to approach that stuff, instead of, they don't want to exploit people with handicaps and things like that. I get it.
Yeah. Although there was that TV show about the Freak Show a while back on A&E or one of those channels. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's not illegal. Maybe I bet you like places like Florida, it's probably still legal.
I don't believe I've ever actually been to a real quote unquote freak show.
Yeah.
Where they show people like that, that have those kind of deformities and stuff like that.
Right.
They were also widely known to be faked and all this other
True.
crap.
Yeah,
so.
There's a lot of deception going on with those shows as well.
Well, anyway, it does have a very, very low budget feel to it. The acting, unfortunately, spiraled into hell immediately. It absolutely sucks.
It can't really spiral into hell when it never was out of hell. it started bad
Tried
and just
to climb its way out, but didn't
started
make
bad
it
and
right.
just kind of stayed on that plane.
Yeah.
So the intro uses like that old timey 30s music that you would expect because I guess because they're not only are they paying, is it a retelling of the 32 Freaks movie, but apparently it's supposed to be set in the same time frame as well.
Something like that.
So the entire soundtrack is that kind of music.
It sounds like the old phonograph, the old school crank it phonograph,
Yes.
and you put the needle down with the big megaphone,
right
speaker, the RCA, whatever the.
So
RCA
I guess it's supposed to add atmosphere as well as maybe instill a bit of a creep factor to it because of the way it sounds. Because it sounds very it's got a lot of those pops and hisses from the old phonograph, but it doesn't do any of that. It just sounds out of place throughout the entire movie.
And it pissed me off too because it's like the movie started off and I was thinking, hey, you know what? Yeah, it's got an old school feel, but maybe it's going to go somewhere. Maybe this is going to be cool or going to do something. Because it was, like I said, it was showing some of the performers. It was showing some of the quote unquote freaks. It was showing and they were all doing impressive tricks and all this other stuff. Guys, a guy with no arms lighting a cigar with his feet and lighting a match and stuff. I mean, it's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, we were badly, badly deceived.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And so, like, the intro goes on way too long. It shows... It shows in between the title cards. It has the credit cards. It has pictures of actual circus sideshow performers from the early part of this century, or actually last century and the century before. But it just goes on way too long. And the song they chose, it doesn't get you excited for the movie.
No, it does not. I mean, I know they're trying to set the time period, like we said, but it just
it doesn't work. And so, like, it starts off with a meeting of all of the characters that you are going to be watching throughout the movie.
Yep, the opening pep talk with the owner there, in the big top, talking about and he almost sounds like I think I said when we were watching and taking notes, I think he said he sounded like Vernon Wells.
Kind
of has that slight accent and blah blah blah.
Yeah,
all this crap.
Yeah, and so at that point we are introduced to our characters, and I'm using air quotes for introduced because by introduce I mean we aren't actually given names. They literally will just show every single person that's in the movie without giving us any backstory or any introduction. You're just supposed to automatically know these are the characters, and that's the introduction for all the characters. So that's the introduction, and it doesn't get any better from there.
No, it does not, because in the next scene, they go outdoors. There's a scene outdoors where the penile quartet, as they call them, the four dicks, are standing out there, and they're out there with Lucy the Hoe.
Yeah.
Everybody's got to have a nickname. And they're out there plotting, and it turns out that these four knuckleheads are going to try to rob the circus.
Yep.
Or actually, it's five of them, excuse me.
Oh, yeah, 4 guys and a hoe.
4 guys and a hoe. Okay, well, anyway, these knuckleheads are out there trying to plot how they are going to rob this guy, which is funny because during the boss's opening speech, Lon, he was telling everybody, unless you steal from me, and he kept looking at them the whole time and telling everybody, I'll take care of you. You work hard, blah, blah, blah. And then he kept referring to stealing. So
Right.
that's a hint and a half for your ass.
Yeah.
You know, first of all, you got a circuit. You got a tent full of specially capable individuals running around there.
Very capable. Yeah.
That are going to fuck you up if you do the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Well, anyway.
Well, let's go back to that scene real quick because I wanted to bring a couple things up. So again, going back to how everybody's introduced and how badly it's done, and how that sets the tone for everything. It also introduces us to how bad the sound editing is in this movie, because in the matter of seconds, the boss is talking. In a matter of seconds, it goes from on-set audio to ADR, but the transition is so bad that it doesn't even sound like it's him speaking the lines when it switches to the ADR. It sounds like somebody else off in a different part of the scene is actually saying the ADR. And they get these two guys who he asks for a glass of water. One of the freaks, the little girl, goes and gets some water. She trips on the way, and you get these two guys that laugh at her. And that's the whole scene where he's saying, we're family, we take care of each other. And he doesn't like that the guys laughed at the little girl, so he tells them to get out. One of them starts spouting shit and mouthing off, and so he uses that opportunity to make an example, but not an effective example, because all he does is has a strong man go to strangle him. Doesn't really do anything. He starts to go limp, but then he says, take him outside. Doesn't even kill him or anything. Nope. And then he takes him outside.
Puts him like in a Vulcan nerve pinch kind of hold.
Yeah.
Just kind of clamps down on him, and the dude's just like shaking.
It's a very ineffective example. So anyway, I just wanted to go over that scene, because that you got all that. You got the very bad introduction. You've got the bad direction. You've got the terrible sound editing, and you've got what's supposed to be a scene of setting intimidation and setting an example, and it doesn't do that. So all that sets tone for what's going to come.
Yes, and it's just god awful.
Yeah.
And what happens with the penile quartet? Anyway, back to these guys. They're sitting there talking, and all of a sudden emerges what looks to be a raggedy ass looking sheriff.
Apple Dumpling Gang sheriff.
Local sheriff guy comes around, and turns out he's going to be in on it. So they start wheeling and dealing, talk shit, and the sheriff's got the upper hand and says, I'm going to take 25% whether you like it or not, boy, and all this crap. And then he puts his hands on the hoe because she smarts off or something.
Yeah.
And they turn the tables on him, and all of a sudden now they're in charge.
Yep.
He's got the gun, but they're in charge.
Well, there's four of them and one old man, so
that is true.
They kind of outnumber him.
That sets the stage for what their plan is. Problem is, that's about the last you hear of it.
Actually, that's not true. There's like two other scenes where they talk about the plan, but they talk about it again and again, to the point where we made a mention that there's more discussing the plan than there is any other plot in this movie. And I get it. Like the synopsis says, that it's a gang of thieves, criminals who set up shop to rob it. But there's all these characters that you have in this movie, all these characters with these capable, not disabilities, but abilities. Yep. And you don't have any other side plots around any of them at all. Like not a single one.
It's a colostomy of useless crap.
Yeah. And speaking of which, after that scene, we start the first of many scenes that absolutely go nowhere when we're introduced to our armless knife thrower.
Oh, yeah.
Who is throwing knives with his feet, and then he lights a cigarette or picks a cigarette up, lights it with his feet. There's no dialogue. It's just done visually, and there's of course the old timey music is going on the whole time, which doesn't really go with it. But it's great if you had a side plot involving him to go with it. But there's not.
Yep,
there's nothing.
Absolutely nothing. And this leads to many of these kinds of scenes
that
come up. And
they're fillers. They're just fillers to fill the time to pad it to 90 minutes.
Exactly.
And something like this. That scene may have been I think there's that scene and a few others where I think they're thrown there for kind of shock value, whatever.
Yeah.
And maybe in 1932, maybe in 1950, maybe in 1960, that would have been a bit more shocking.
Yeah.
But in today's, and this was in 2007. 2007, we are in the post Nightmare on Elm Street, post Texas Chainsaw Massacre, post Hellraiser, and most importantly, post Saw and Hostel era. And so at that point, it's not shocking. If anything, it's actually mundane compared to the rest of them.
Like I say, with the acrobats with the hooks in their backs.
Yeah, that's another scene. Yeah, that comes up. There's this scene of these guys who are obviously real life performers where they hook themselves up to hooks on their backs, their meat, and then they hang themselves, they swing themselves, which is an actual thing.
Yep.
We've all seen it. I mean, you can see it anywhere on TV. It's on TV, for Christ's sake. And they hook themselves up and they start swinging around, which it's interesting. But again, there's no dialogue, there's no side plot established. That's the thing. They don't establish any sort of side plots or plot. They're just showing you scenes that are supposed to be shocking or different. But at this point in time, we've seen all this on TV.
Yep. The only established fact to this point is the fact that 4 peckers want to rob the circus.
Yeah, and that's established about 3 or 4 more times.
Yeah.
It's like the director thought you would forget what the plot was between all the useless scenes. So it's like, hey, we need to have like 5 more scenes where they talk about the plan to rob the owner. And
those fade to black scenes.
Yes, thank you. Yes, so that's another thing this movie does way too much. I don't know if it's trying to be artistic, but it uses fade to black way too much to transition to another scene. A lot of times it uses it to transition to the establishing shot of the circus, which shows like 5 different times. And you and I were like, we get it. It's a fucking circus. The whole movie's a circus. You don't need to establish that shot anymore. But the biggest foul for me with that is when we get to the scene where the owner meets the blonde hoe. What do they call it? Lucy Blonde Hoe? What'd you call her?
Lucy Hoe.
Lucy Hoe?
Her name's Lucy in the movie, but I just call her Lucy Hoe.
And he goes up and he's talking to her, and she's wearing this hat, and he is talking to her and takes the hat off. And as he continues talking to her, it starts fading to black, like it's ending the scene.
He's not even done talking to her, and they cut away from
it. And it fades to black. I'm like, why would you do that? You don't cut away the black as you're talking. It's not artistic. It makes you look incompetent.
And then we get our actual first gratuitous sex scene between one of the penile quartet, because I don't even know their names.
Yeah.
And one of the circus performers
called the Cannibal Girl.
Cannibal Girl, yeah. And I was disappointed in that. Here we go with gratuitous sex. Well, I was even hoping they'd spice it up with like an extra appendage or something.
Nothing.
Something crazy, but nothing.
You talking about? You mean Cannibal Girl was Cannibal Tea Girl? Something. She was crying game over there.
Something.
She wants something.
I'm just saying. Well, it's a freak show. It was hope for something odd or interesting, but nope, plain old junk. And then it fades out, goes to the next scene.
And so after that, then we get another exposition dump of the criminals going over their plan again for the second time in a row.
That's true.
Yeah. And then we cut to the scene with the owner meeting the slut, and again it transitions to another shot of the circus to continue with the theme of useless shots. There's another shot that comes up of the man-woman, the he-she, the one that has like, it's half female, half male, sitting down, holding this jar with what looks like, I guess, a fetus or something, sitting next to another performer and is cradling it, and then looks over at the performer and then looks back down, and then it fades to black. Mm-hmm. Again, nothing. No dialogue, no nothing. There's no plot. It's just a useless scene that they threw in there to pad it.
No, well, at least now that Lon has kind of started to take a liking to Lucy the Hoe, he goes over to the ticket booth where she's working.
Yeah.
In the next scene, and this was one of my favorite little comedic scenes to me. It was kind of fun.
It was actually pretty funny. Yeah.
Brings back the old feeling. If anybody's ever saw the old Police Academy movies, the ending speech where Commandant Lassard is trying to give a speech to the city, the mayor and other city officials and stuff, and the hookers underneath the stand and doing this. Well, anyway, Lucy the Hoe is in there, and she's down on him doing her thing.
Yeah, doing the down and dirty.
And then
the wife, the flipper seal wife.
The flipper seal.
That's what she is. She's the seal girl because she's got flippers on her hands because she has that.
Oh, man.
So she walks up and she starts talking to him while he's, getting his willy rubbed down below. And he's making all these weird faces, and she's talking to him about, the stuff needs to be done for the next day. And he's like, yeah, I'll do it. Okay, I'll do it.
So that was funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she would not shut the hell up. And he was like, I'm just trying to finish here, bitch.
And then then she walks away. She stands up. He's like, hey, let's go do this. And she walks away. Says, what kind of girl do you think I am?
Yeah. After she just gave him the old spit shine.
The old tease.
Yeah.
Then we go to yet another scene. And this is where you were right. I was wrong. We go to yet another scene of our stupid thieves sitting in an open tent talking about their plot.
Again.
And are overheard by Willow, the little...
the little girl?
The little midget dude.
Oh no, that's Curtis.
That's Curtis.
Or as I call him, Peter Suckledge, because unlike Peter Dinklage, who is an amazing actor, this guy is a sucky actor.
Yeah, he's horrible.
He's horrible. So I have dubbed him Peter Suckledge.
And at this point, it is painful, obviously. The movie is just unbelievably slow in development. Scene after scene just drones on, just
yeah, so
makes no sense. Nothing's tying in.
No, nothing.
And I was at this point, I was telling Chris, I said, it would just be nice if they would just open the fucking circus. Because
yeah, that's
it's been
another
like
thing.
3
Yeah.
fucking days they've been open. The stupid fucking Ferris wheel's been running for like 3
With
days
nobody
straight.
on it.
The lights are all turned on, but yet there's no customers.
Yeah, we have not seen a single scene. Again, another side plot that they have not explored. We have not seen a single scene of them interacting with customers, of them actually doing day-to-day business. I mean, there is plenty of shots with the circus during the day, but we don't see a single customer, anybody.
How do you have a freak show when there's no fucking
when there's
show?
no customers? Yeah. And
all they're doing is practicing the whole time. Scene after scene, you see them doing their little stunts and stuff, but they're not doing it for anybody. They're just like doing their shit.
Yeah, and so we get another scene where the hoe, like they're having some sort of a celebration or something, and yeah, so they're having a celebration, and the boss is talking about how they had another successful day, even though they did not show a single customer or a single scene of them interacting or conducting
dollar.
Business.
Another day, another dollar. He actually fucking said that, but yet. From where?
Yeah, and this is where the Lucy Ho decides to seduce, again air quotes, seduce the boss, because that's part of the plan. But her act of seduction consists of her getting drunk and acting like a club hoe.
Yes,
like a club lady, just drunk off her ass. Oh, I'm sorry, I meant to say not club hoe, white girl wasted. She gets white girl wasted, and that's her idea of seducing the boss. Yep. And so
we get a 30s, 40s version of a modern day woohoo girl.
Yeah,
so I call them.
So they end up banging in his trailer, and the owner has a wife who ends up sleeping in the tent elsewhere. But the next scene we get is of the wife and the owner together in the trailer, and that's where we discover that they aren't actually married. They're actually step siblings. They just have this sort of business arrangement where people think that they're married because they run the business together.
Freaks.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. And so he tells her that Lucy Ho is the love of his life, and she says they don't trust him. She's not one of them.
But you've got to say it with his accent. She's the love of my life.
I am not even going to try to do that shit.
I don't know.
Then we cut to that useless thing you mentioned of Peter Suckledge juggling torches, but it's a shot that starts off at the Ferris wheel, pans down to him juggling torches. Again, the Ferris wheel has nobody on it, but it's running.
He's just been running for 3 fucking days.
And he's juggling, he's juggling lit torches in front of it for nobody around. He's doing it for nobody.
And then just...
No dialogue, no plot reason, and it just fades to black again. Another useless scene.
Horrible.
Yeah.
Then we go to Lucy and Lon again, meeting up, and she actually...
Is that the boss's name, Lon?
His name is Lon.
Is it really?
Lon the loser.
I had no fucking idea.
Lucy the hoe manipulates Lon the loser into marriage. He asks her, she laughs at him at first, but then she's like, you know what? Okay, ha ha ha, and all this other shit. And then he goes around to take a straw poll of his whole staff, all of his workers, his quote unquote family. Nobody likes the bitch.
Yeah.
Lon ain't listening.
Nope. He's still gonna go forward with it.
Not listening. The next day, they see a sign on the wall of it says, Lon and
I think it's their wedding announcement. Just a fucking piece of board that was painted
Loser
on.
and the hoe.
Yeah, it says painted on pre-wedding party. That was their
wedding party.
wedding announcement.
Night. And they're all sitting around mumbling, "Oh man, that's a bunch of bullshit." And then Lon walks in, "Hey Lon, what's going on, man? Hey, congratulations."
Yeah,
blah,
talk
blah,
shit
blah.
behind his back, but then when
And
he's
they start clapping and shit, and then they walk away, and you're like, okay.
Yeah, and one thing that I've noticed, as we've mentioned, they've shown like scenes of the Ferris wheel a lot. I think that was their way of quote unquote foreshadowing what comes later in the Ferris wheel, because there's no other reason to show the Ferris wheel that much, and we'll get into that a little later on in the review. But there's no reason to show the Ferris wheel, especially when there's nobody on it, that much, unless it's a foreshadowing. And again, I'm doing air quotes and you can't see me, but quote unquote foreshadowing of what's going to happen. So maybe, I don't know. That's what I'm thinking.
Who freaking knows, brother? But all I know is I'm sick of looking at that fucking thing running with nobody on it for like 3 days straight.
No customers at all.
Well, anyway, they managed to all gather in the tent the next evening for the wedding party, celebration of their engagement or whatever.
Yeah.
And they decide, they have a nice little speech by your boy.
Peter Suckledge. Yeah. He gives his finest performance ever, talking about how Lucy's part of the family, and it's very, very forced. I guess it is their wedding party, because I didn't show it, but they were married apparently.
Yeah.
And so after he gives his very, very horribly forced speech, he then announces that it's time to drink from the well, but since they don't have a well, they get this big silver
giant
bowl,
and they all
pour their beers
pour
into
their
it.
beer into it, and they start passing around. Everybody takes a drink, but it shows people laughing, slobbering, spraying, doing all kinds of
backwash
stuff,
all
and
up in
she's
there.
watching it
Yeah.
with this disgusted look on her face.
Uh-huh.
It goes around. It comes back around the lawn. He takes his drink and he sets it in front of her, and they're all chanting,
Yeah, Lucy,
"Welcome, Lucy,
welcome, Lucy, welcome."
and all of a
Lucy.
sudden she flips the fuck out.
Oh man, she
finally
has a
freaks out.
complete-
Disgusting.
I
spit
get
drinking.
it. Freaks out. Good job. Nice one. All right. Yeah, she has a complete spaz moment.
But anyway, she's had it with that. So people need to start dying at this point, or basically all we've been exposed to right now is a modern interpretational theater.
Yeah, it's theater class.
Done,
Not a
done by
single
middle schoolers. I mean,
not a
it's just
single
horrible.
death has happened in the entire movie.
No death, straight up. And Lon, the owner, looking at him straight up. We haven't even talked about him really. He is just one nasty motherfucker.
Oh my gosh, he's nasty.
Covered with boils and shit.
all over his back.
Nasty looking.
Yeah.
Cuts away the scene. She freaks out. She offends everybody. She cusses everybody out, calls them freaks, says they're horrible, said who the hell would want to be part of this family? Who could be seen with you people? You know, and she even pushed Lon down and said, especially you. And
yeah.
Anyway, she acts like a total bitch and runs out of the party.
So she runs back to the trailer and meets the quartet, and they force her to go back to Lon to apologize.
Yep.
And at that point, it cuts to the next scene, which is them at the Ferris wheel during the day working on it, and that's when they decide that they are done playing around.
Yep, they're going to act on their plans, start getting stuff together, but instead of actually going after the money, they start stealing supplies first.
Yeah, and then they end up going into the kitchen to steal food.
Yep.
And that's where they run into the little girl who's in there doing the same thing.
Yep.
They try to make a deal with her and they say, if you don't tell, we don't tell. And then they leave. And as she walks out, you see they're there, and they punch her in the face, knock her out, and tie her up.
Which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
It was unnecessary.
Unnecessary. She wasn't going to say anything.
And they took her, and then next scene they find her, she's bound to this steel pole somewhere. And they're mistreating her and yelling at her and
they're threatening her. And they're threatening her to keep her mouth shut. And she does this laugh that starts with a giggle and then goes to a full-on cock your head back laugh. And then it cuts to a shot of their face. But then we notice that she laughs again, but it's the exact same laugh track they just played a second ago. So they play it back to back. I mean, the problem is that, you think, okay, well, it's a laugh track, so when people laugh, they laugh the same. But this laugh is so unique, that you can't help but notice that it's the exact same note for note laugh track played back to back.
Yeah, I guess additional laughing was not in the budget.
No, couldn't do it. Sorry.
Okay, so anyway, what happens is she bites.
Yeah, she bites one in the hand.
Bites one of them in the hand. He loses it, and he knifes her in the side.
Right in the side, yeah.
Starts wrenching the
she
knife
starts
around.
wailing out loud.
And then the guy's just looking at her like she's screaming like a wild animal.
Yeah.
Well, I think anybody would holler if they had a knife in their gut.
Anyway,
he's twisting it around, and he pulls the knife out finally. She's still screaming, but yet her little head's not moving.
No.
So I think that was dubbed in as well.
Yeah, badly.
Very poorly done.
Yeah.
And instead of just finishing her off,
which he says he wants to shut her up.
He wants to shut her up.
But instead of killing her,
he scalps her. Which makes no sense, but I guess gore needs to start at some point.
I guess, but it makes her scream louder instead of shutting her the hell up.
And this scene honestly didn't make any sense. It was almost cruel. It was ridiculous because it's just a little girl.
Yeah.
And she's a little freak girl.
And all you were doing was stealing food. You weren't actually stealing money.
Food. That's okay because the penile quartet has got something coming for her.
Yeah.
They end up hacking her to absolute bits.
Mm-hmm.
Chopped her head off and did a bunch of stuff. Of course, it does it all off camera. You don't see any of it.
You don't see that.
You don't even hear it.
Yeah.
And shows a scene of some of the other.
The next scene is the Ferris wheel, and you see one of the carts has blood all over. Yeah, the fucking Ferris wheel has blood all over it, and some of the performers run up to it, and then they show what's inside the cart, and it's obviously a dummy, but it's supposed to be a little girl, but her head's all chopped off, and there's blood all over the place, and she's mutilated. And so begins the downfall of...
So now they've done it.
Yep, now they've done it. So then we cut to the funeral.
We cut to the funeral scene where you see Lon in there talking, growing steadily more angry in his speech. Something's got to be done. And he starts yelling. Through all of that. So
through this is supposed to be an emotionally charged scene. You're supposed to be able to feel very bad for the circus performers. They're all there mourning the loss of one of their own. And
all my ass could do
all that
was notice a loaf of fucking bread on the table next to the dead
lower
body.
left-hand side of
and
the
I'm
corner.
sitting here, what the fuck are they getting ready to do here?
Hey, you're like, hey, it's Seal Girl. Is that her hand? Or is that bread?
Is that a fucking loaf of bread, dude?
They put a loaf of bread on the table next to the dead girl's body. Makes no sense.
But when you see it, it's so out of place. It kind of tickled my funny bone a little bit.
But that's how you know that a scene is so badly directed that your eyes are, when they're supposed to be on the characters, they're not. They're scanning the whole scene and coming across random things.
You ignore the dead body in the sheet and the anger speech, and you notice a loaf of
bread.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That is just the transitions to the outside funeral. I guess part 2 of the funeral.
Yes.
Where they insert her body, they put her body in an oil barrel,
right,
and decide they're gonna burn her.
And we decided that they did that for triple reasons. So the first reason was that's their version of a funeral pyre.
Yes.
The second reason was because it helps keep the homeless warm at night. And the third reason, we decided that they must have also poured citronella on her and lighted her on fire to help keep the mosquitoes
away from the circus.
Because, I'm sure the mosquitoes are bothering all of their customers, of which they have none.
Yes. We're going to note the circus has still not opened.
Not a single customer there. Nope.
Shit is finally about to go down. We have waited an hour and 15 minutes of an hour and 25-minute movie.
Yeah.
Or hour 28. It wasn't. But anyway, all hell comes down on the quartet. And Chris, why don't you take it from here, brother?
All right. So
run down the deaths.
Here's how each of them dies. So the first one that dies is you see him get kidnapped, and then he's tied to a chair. And you see, I think it's Curtis, the Peter Suckledge, and a couple others are about to start kicking and stabbing him. And as they do that, it cuts to the outside of the tent, and you see the silhouette of the guy in the chair, and they start kicking and stabbing it, but it's quite clearly not the guy. It's quite clearly a very badly made dummy.
It's horrible.
Because when they kick it, it moves the way a doll does when you kick it. Very unnatural. Yeah, it's absolutely horrible. So then one of the other guys decided he wants to go get his dipstick check at the cannibal lady's tent, so heads over there, starts dipping his stick, and she starts gnawing on his neck and chews out his neck and eats him.
Cannibal girl, duh.
Yeah, I think it's in the name. And then another one ends up getting foot knifed to death when the armless dude throws a knife at him with his foot with the accuracy of a ninja throwing a ninja star.
That was actually pretty awesome.
Yeah. Then the final guy, he's tripped up by one of the other performers while running outside.
And this is a creepy little fuck. I'm sorry. This little guy comes out from underneath the tent. He's got no legs. He's walking on his hands.
That's right.
And he snatches him and trips him up, man. And I was like, that's fucking creepy. It's like raining and lightning and dark.
And then the strongman Gallagher's him to death with a mallet and smashes his head like a watermelon.
Juicy.
And so that is the end of the quartet, and that just leaves Lucy Ho.
The penile quartet is down and leaves
out.
the hoe.
So,
all right. So what we do is we go to the next scene of her in her. She's in Lon's trailer. She had gone over there to apologize and spent the whole night, obviously.
Yeah.
And then in a stall tactic, she tries to seduce him yet again to do it again. So he gets ready to go after it again. And she tells him, hey, go get some protection.
Go get some protection because I don't know where you've been, even though you've been fucking him for the last week.
Yes.
Her stall tactic is absolutely terrible. Thankfully, he's not falling for it. He takes the opportunity to leave the trailer.
Yep.
So he can go meet up with the group to start planning their revenge on Lucy.
He gets out and they start whispering. You can't hear what they're saying. The music's playing, but you know some shit's up.
Yeah.
So anyway, he comes back in. He's all wet. She starts questioning him, and she's like, "What the hell's going on in here?" And then Seal Flipper, what'd you call her?
Seal Woman, Flipper Woman.
Flipper Woman comes in there and tells her he's not in charge anymore. I am. Starts talking to her, says, well, if you're going to be part of this family, you have to have an act and all this other stuff. So, do you have any skills? And she's like, basically, fuck no, I don't have no act. What are you talking about? So, this leads to my personal, unfortunately, long, but my
very long scene, but James's favorite.
Unfortunately, because something had to make the suffering worth it. And this ending scene was kind of worth it. It was, the effects were, they weren't great, but it's enough to make you squeamish. If you are squeamish.
Let's talk about this. So let's talk about what made you enjoy this final scene, all the different things that made you enjoy it. So go ahead.
Actually, because it showed almost everything that they were doing to this person.
Okay.
So the first thing they do is they cut her tongue off. They actually force her to open her mouth. The strong man puts her in the Vulcan head grip again and says, stick your tongue out, and they actually show it. That's why I kind of like this scene, because it's enough to give you a little spine, you make your spine crawl a little bit.
Okay.
Because there's actually, it shows them pulling her tongue out, and they show her cutting across.
Right.
There is some blood effect, but that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
They commence to skin her. They commence to sew her mouth shut.
Okay.
Which I don't get. I guess they sewed her mouth shut first to keep her quiet so she wouldn't scream a lot, because they cut her eyelids off.
Uh-huh.
Then they went for the skin.
Uh-huh.
They actually skinned her down to nothing, cut her arms and legs off.
Right.
You didn't get to see all of it, but it was long and drawn out enough it was gory enough, to give you a little tiny bit of satisfaction at the end of an otherwise very horribly done piece of shit movie.
Gotcha.
And then after they're done hacking, you're like, what the fuck? So you figure, what the hell's going on? Then I was referred to, like, if you see a preview shot, when you're looking this movie up, you see a picture of this thing sitting up with no arms and legs.
Right.
Turns out, it turns out to be her. So what it does, it goes to the next scene where we finally, yes, I'm going to get right next to the microphone and say, finally see some patrons at the circus.
There are customers at the circus.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
It finally opened, and you see this guy giving a speech about two people that met each other. I guess there were two halves of people, and they joined together or some shit. I don't have any idea.
It's completely useless. It doesn't have to do with the movie.
It's
stupid.
Full of shit. Yeah. Anyway, pulls the curtain back, and there she is. You see her move just a little bit. She's like the live worm girl.
And then freeze frame on it. Yeah.
And they freeze frame on it. Movie, thankfully, over.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you why I didn't like the last scene, because first of all, obviously it went on way too long. Like, there's no need for me personally to have it go on that long. I didn't mind the effects. The effects were practical, which was great. I mean, it wasn't CGI, so that was cool to see practical effects. They weren't great practical effects, and it was done, I think it was mostly done for like shock value. But in today's post-Saw and 9/11 and Hostile world, it's not really anything shocking. We've seen way
like
worse.
The JV team.
Yeah, and so
it's
like
not...
if they had gone with the tongue cutting off and then even the scene where they're sewing the lips, they show it way too long. Like, you can show us doing 2 stitches and then that's it. You can cut away, because we
the
get
prosthetic.
The idea
and the prosthetic really wasn't that good.
No, it really wasn't.
You could tell it was her face,
right?
But they were mashing down this big prosthetic, and the lips were enormous. It looked like Fucko's lips,
right? And that's another reason to cut. Yeah, it really did. Yeah, that's the reason why they cut away after a certain time, because if you hover on it too long and it's a really bad effect or bad prosthetic, the longer you're on it, the easier it is to tell it's a bad prosthetic. So you want to show just enough to show what you're doing and then cut away. The skin of the face coming off was very, very bad as well.
Oh, God.
The toes cutting off were actually pretty cool. But then, like, it's just like I get that they're gonna mutilate her because what she did to. Or she didn't even actually do that to the girl. Her compatriots did. But like, they could have cut it out a lot sooner and still had the same effect of when they revealed her to the audience. I think even more so because if you see them begin to do something, but then it cuts, so you don't know exactly what all they did, and then reveal her having no arms, no legs, no skin on her face, no hair, and just wrapped in a sheet and no eyelids. That would be, to me, a much better shock reveal than showing every single thing they do to get her to that position.
Because basically, like I said, it was artistic theater.
Yeah,
almost to a point up to the last 15 minutes of the movie.
It was like off Broadway theater. Yeah, this is like back alley off Broadway theater.
This is like, hey, let's murder party, warehouse kind of theater.
Yeah. So anyway, that's why I felt like the scene went on too long and was unnecessary. That being said, movie's ended. We're done. Let's go with the rating.
Okay. Well, here I'm going to start with mine.
Go for it.
The acting is a definite 5 turd slam dunk.
Okay.
Absolutely sucked. The acting was pathetic. No redeeming characters whatsoever. Every single one of them, the acting was terrible.
Yeah.
The script, I gave it a 2 for, I didn't like to use the word artistic, but actually the script wasn't that bad. The premise wasn't bad.
Okay.
Okay. So the story wasn't that bad.
Okay.
The effects, I gave them like a 3.
Okay.
2, 3. Because a lot of the effects were really cool. Plus, a lot of the scenes with the actual performers and the actual, people were neat. The hooks, all that stuff. I mean, it was cringeworthy, but these were actually real performers doing stuff, and it was pretty cool. So
I get
some of the stuff wasn't even effects; it was actually real.
It was real, yeah, true.
Direction, non-existent.
No, not at all.
That's a 5 turd.
Not at all.
5 turds. Story, the concept was a 2.
Okay,
but it turned into a 4 with this piece of shit.
It turned into
the story was okay, but they didn't run with it good enough.
Mm-hmm.
So all in all, for me, I was going to go 4.5, but I've got to go ahead and go a full 5 turns on this one.
A full
because we were deceived.
Yeah.
Yes, we saw a few little spurts of cool stuff. Crappy, gratuitous sex scenes that really didn't have any need to be in the movie at all.
Nudity.
And to hear 2 guys say, you don't need to see boobs in these kind of movies. You really, really don't.
Yeah,
they're for attention purposes and to keep your interest. That's a trick they use to keep your interest peaked. So you're like, hey, you want to see more titty? No, it's total shit.
Yeah. So
I am going to go a full 5 turds.
Okay.
With an exclamation point, because this really wasn't this was, like I said, a modern art masterpiece for an hour and 20 minutes and 10 minutes of actual horror movie.
Yeah, true.
There was no death.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. To me, you can't have horror without death.
No.
So it barely qualified.
I agree. Totally agree.
So with that being said, Mr. Chris, what is your analysis, good sir?
Well, let's see. Let's start with acting was terrible. Not a single person put in a good performance in this. Actually, I take it back. The Ferris wheel was the best actor in the movie because it did exactly what it was supposed to do. It was a Ferris wheel.
It was annoy the shit out of me.
And we saw it just as much as every other actor in this movie. So, yeah, I think it should get a credit. It should get a mention in the credits. The acting was terrible. The script was it's just all over the place. I don't think it even knew what it wanted to do. It was, it's a remake of the original 1932 Freaks. But the only reason to do a remake is if you can do it better, and they did not do it better.
No.
The direction, as you said, was non-existent. The sound was just atrocious, as we mentioned before. The ADR was done so badly and integrated so badly into the movie that you could tell it wasn't actually said on set. It was added in later. The music was terrible. The full amount of all of the useless go nowhere shots that they have in this movie, and the fact that they have all these interesting characters and they don't have any other side plot. There's literally one plot in this movie, and it's about robbing the dude, and there's no other plots going on. There could be a ton of other plots going on. What's going on with the performers? Do they ever get harassed by any of the non-existent customers? Is one of them feeling there's that season of American Horror Story where it was all taking place in a circus with freaks. And it wasn't that great, but at least every single character on there had some sort of story arc or had a plot or something. This had none of that. Like you saw a lot of the performers and a lot of the freaks, but the plot based around the penile quartet was supposed to be the main focus, but you barely saw them. So overall, the effects were okay. Some of them went on too long, and I felt like they probably could have cut the ending scene a lot shorter. So all in all, I am gonna go 5 turds just because, as you mentioned, there's not a single redeeming factor of this movie. Even if you want to watch the last 10 minutes for the gore, that's fine. That's fine. Just fast forward it to that part because you're not gonna miss anything.
Unless, of course, yeah, like I said, it's always our intention to get folks to watch the movie.
Yeah,
even if it's just once. If you're interested in artsy kind of stuff. I mean, it's not great, but if you're interested in seeing some of the scenes, but like I said, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't have any continuity. It doesn't really flow. It's just kind of all over the place.
It definitely fits the definition of modern art in the fact that it's art, but it sucks ass.
Pretty much.
Modern art is shit. Yeah.
I just call it that way because it's that whole be silent, be still shit.
Yeah, be silent, be still, don't watch it. Yeah. No, but yeah, so it's a 5 for sure. Watch it once. And then after that, smoke it out of existence.
Or go stick your ear to a pool drain and plug the other ear so it'll suck your brain out.
There you go. Go
something.
Do that old candle trick where you light a candle in your ear to pull the wax out, but you maybe pull the memory of this movie out. Something.
Put a little C4 in there and kind of maybe blow the memories out the other side or something.
Yeah, don't do any of that because we don't want you to hurt yourself. But
I'm just kidding.
But
edit.
But. No, we're not editing. We're keeping that in. But yeah, at least go watch it once. So
yep.
All right. So that being said, let's. Where can they find us, James?
They can find us on. You can stream our podcast on castnet.fm.
Castbox.
Why do I always say Castnet?
Every single fucking episode.
Every goddamn episode, I fucking say that.
When we're at episode 150, I think you will finally get the right.
Finally say it right.
Finally say it right. Yeah. So Castbox.
I'm sorry, folks.
Castbox.fm if you're online.
Castbox.fm.
Or just look for the Castbox app on your phone.
That is correct. Spotify, which is real easy, just under What the Suck. And we are also on Stitcher now.
Correct.
We are no longer on Apple.
Nope.
I think we ditched Apple because too many
'em,
politics and bullshit.
Fuck them, that's why.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
And we are also on Facebook.
Correct.
We are on Instagram.
Yep.
And we are on Twitter.
We're on all 3 of the major devils for sure.
Yep, absolutely.
3 evils. So you can find us on there. I believe on, if I'm correct, on Twitter and Instagram, you have to add underscores between the words, correct, to find us?
That's correct. You can either way, but I believe with underscores it is more effective.
Yeah, it comes up right away.
Now, spoiler alert, not really spoilers, so to say, because it's too late now, because it's the end. But what I am going to start doing, people will notice online, if you're following us on social media, is I'm going to start posting previews to the upcoming episodes so that we can let you know in advance what our episode's going to be about on Friday. Instead of warning you about it at the beginning of the episodes when we record them to stop the podcast, go watch it, come back. This way, it gives you a couple days advance if you want to watch the movie and then listen to the episode when it comes out the following Friday. Try to make it a little more easy on folks and give you a little idea of what's going to go on. So we'll see what happens.
Well, it's not tomorrow. By the time this comes out, it'll be 2 weeks old. So
I said tomorrow, but I didn't say which episode. I intentionally didn't say that.
Gotcha. Okay. So that being said, we are going to end the show. So I'm Chris.
And I'm James.
And we'll see you guys next time.
Peace.
Peace out.
Little calves one day, when the time came round for the dairy show, Giles was busy and he could not go.
Babe, once you dip my stick in the cannibal girl and get it chewed off and warns the world. Yeah, yeah.